Eric Moore. He is an Oakland-based VC, one of the first early investors in Zappos, actually. And yeah, he's actually, I said that there was one major VC in Oakland 5 years ago. Now there's several, and Eric is one of them, blazing a trail. Welcome, Eric Moore.
Hear us? No. Okay, we'll use this. I'm excited. I don't know what to do. I have so many questions for you, Hammer, and I really want to set the stage first. And before I'm not going to do any formal introductions because I'm pretty sure everybody knows who you are. But let me just I want to make sure I set the stage here and make sure that people understand who you are and where you've been and what you've been about. Is that me booming like that? Because I've got such a strong, deep voice? All right, cool. Anyway, and I also feel pretty cool because I got my phone to look at my notes. But at any rate, we first met when I was on the trading floor in San Francisco, and we would watch CNBC all day, which is kind of what we did on the trading floor. And I remember watching it one day, and you were being interviewed by the people on CNBC, and you were talking about tech and your involvement in tech and your company in particular. And then at one point, the interviewer asked you about hammer pans, and they wanted to talk to you about your rap career and whatnot, and you graciously decided not to talk about that, and you told him, I'm here to talk about tech, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys might have about that. But we're not going to go there. And I'm curious to know, and if you can let everybody else here know, kind of your involvement in tech, how you got started, where it came from, and why it's so important to you.
You left out the part about you actually sent me an email.
I did send you an email, and it was fairly random, and I'm surprised you responded to me because you don't respond to my emails now. We kind of reverted to text messaging, but why did you respond to that email, and what were you thinking there?
Well, no, the fact that you noticed how I, kind of repositioned the question and dealt with the question kind of, professionally. I thought it was real kind of you to, send an email saying, hey, I just saw that interview, and you actually said on the email you appreciated the way I handled the question and kept it moving forward. So, but most who are a part of the tech community for the past, 15 years know me from going all the way back to even accelerators, if you can believe this, out in San Ramon and Walnut Creek 16 and 17 years ago, small investment groups and so forth and so on. But my real drive for tech came because there were only, two traditional outlets to distribute rich media content, movies, videos, extended videos, and I didn't like that model. And I heard that there would come a time where movies would be distributed over the internet. And so I went on a quest to find out who would do it first. And the two companies at the time that were working very hard on it was SGI and Apple. And so I ended up in both companies' research and development divisions and talking with the people who were working on solving the big issues, which were compression technology and how to deliver this. At that time it was copper, and there was no fiber, no broadband pipes. So Apple was ahead of the curve. I met a 14-year-old and a 15-year-old who were writing the code for QuickTime, two teenagers. And they both said, that they would have the answer to getting, videos on the internet. So that was my, my early on. I think that was probably, as early as 94, 95. And then, down the road when companies like YouTube came along, I would be there when they were still above the pizza parlor. they had 4 or 5 computers, and I would go over there and talk with Chad about what they were doing, and a bunch of other companies that didn't end up being YouTube, but they were also working on video. And then there was always the question of who would pay for the last mile to connect, the fiber to the houses and so forth. So anyway, I was into it going back that far.
I oftentimes, when people ask me about you, I oftentimes bring up the fact that you're probably one of the most highly networked persons I know in Silicon Valley. You spend a lot of time with Mark Benioff. He's a good friend of yours. Ron Conway is a confidant and a good friend of yours. And I know that you've helped the Airbnb guys get started, and you were around when Twitter first started in the very beginning. Can you talk? How did that come about from your background to that?
Well, it's pretty pretty organic to the extent that, again, I love technology, and I get to see a lot of deal flow, and some of the things that I would see in deal flow just jump out at me. So a company like Twitter jumped out, it leaped out, and so I wasn't the investor. SV Angels was, but I grabbed Ron Conway by the hand and said, we got to go back over and sit down with these Twitter guys, because I think they really have something here far beyond just the messaging and connecting, but a way to mobilize audiences and ultimately sell tickets and cut down on marketing and promotion costs and all these other things I thought that the platform would be able to do. And so that got me an intro to Ev and Biz and Jack, and I got a chance to have some great conversations early on, and it's like that in general. So I became a guy that you walk into any startup, if it fit my ultimate ecosystem that I think I was building in my mind, then I would pursue it. And I would look through different portfolios and deal flows to find guys who were solving problems like delivering content and messaging and things like that, and social things going forward.
Got it. Would you allow me to do a little bit of town business right now? Can we do that?
Well, first of all, Mitch covered a lot of it from his perspective, and again, I'm very grateful for what Mitch has done here, and my perspective is a little different, but Kapor Center, what Mitch has done is tremendous.
Okay, so what do you think about what's going on here in Oakland around entrepreneurship and tech? Is it at all similar to what happened and what continues to happen in Oakland around music and the music game, and how we are always on the cutting edge, so to speak? And is it a similar kind of thing? It's kind of in our DNA in the water out here.
Well, let's just go back. You saw my face wrinkle up a few times during Mitch's interview, because I'm very sensitive to the way words are phrased when you speak about Oakland. I've been here since my family got here in like 1948, and they migrated from Louisiana, and they came here for an opportunity to work here at the Port of Oakland and Vallejo. And so anytime Oakland is even spoke in the sense of lesser than, a stepchild, or this, that, that's not the character of the people from Oakland. We simply don't. You've never met anybody from Oakland who gives off a lesser than spirit. It's not who we are. So we've never looked at ourselves in that way, ever. The positioning of Oakland as a violent city has always been strategic. And that's from a lot of people licking their wounds, meaning this was the home of the movement. This was the home of resistance. If you look back historically, Oakland has always been a city that had the courage and the strength to stand up against the status quo. And when you do that, people want to label you. And historically, this label has stuck somehow. If I say New York, you won't say violent, but if you look at the numbers, it's there as much as it is here. If I say Chicago, my initial thought It's not violence, although right now there are programs that focus on the violence, but it's not initially violence. But somehow, going back again to, Oakland standing up against police brutality and law enforcement, standing up for, civil rights and all these things, it became strategic to label Oakland always as a stepchild from a national position. Even when it came down to the occupation started in New York, but you saw, the strength of it and the vitality of it really take off here in Oakland. That's because of the spirit that is in this city. So when it comes to tech, we are 7 minutes from San Francisco, and there's not a venture capitalist or angel investor that I know who wouldn't invest in a company because you're located in Oakland. That's ridiculous. They invest money in ideas and entrepreneurs. They're looking to win, return, ROI. It doesn't matter that it's 7 minutes over the bridge in Oakland or 30 minutes away. I've taken plane trips all the way to Europe with venture capitalist firms based here in the Bay Area looking for great deals. So I just don't subscribe to the is it possible you can build an ecosystem in Oakland around tech. That is hilarious to me. Of course you can. We're not from Mars. We are creative people with creative ideas, and there are a lot of people who come here and draw from the culture. It's such a great culture. It's a great city. So many layers in the onion here in Oakland. So many.
Why hasn't it taken off then yet?
Well, again, people follow the money. It's just, there will be an entrepreneur who's going to come to Oakland and build a huge company that's going to move the needle. When that happens, there'll be other companies that will build an ecosystem around that company, and it takes off. That's the way it works. It happens, there will be apps built around that company, other companies that come to plug in and, get that API and start building. And that's all it is. It's just a matter of time. It's going to happen. People come here and they drive around Lake Merrick and they go to our beautiful restaurants, tasty restaurants. They get a taste of this and they say, you know what? This is a great place to live and this is a great place to have a business. The social and the intellectual capital is here as well. You pay people good, they find affordable housing, and they do business and raise a family here.
So do you agree with what I think Mitch was mentioning a bit ago, that the Oakland A's remaining here will make people happy and it'll be great, but it's not going to, it won't be, the tech scene being successful won't depend on that.
Well, those are apples and oranges. He's right to that extent. But just understand that there are several groups working right now on keeping the A's. We have the land here. We have, about 200 acres that just reverted back to the city right here, at the harbor. There are ways to get things done. We have investment groups that would like to buy the team if the current ownership group, don't want to stay in it for the long haul. So for me, it's always the players. You saw, Kevin Johnson, after a deal was already cut, saying his team is leaving Sacramento. And he put together a group, and that group said, that group put together was able to say, we're going to match or supersede the offer that's on the table, and we're going to help make sure that they're able to build an arena, and we want our team here. And they were able to keep the Kings in Sacramento. It's all about the people and the players. That's what it comes down to. If you have somebody, a group of people, leadership who want and they spend the time to put together the right group, the A's, the Raiders. I don't think the Warriors, once it was bought, that you stood a chance, and that's okay. Because I'm a historian here in Oakland, they started in San Francisco anyway, and I have no problem driving over to a brand new stadium over in San Francisco, brand new arena, and still cheering for the Warriors. But, obviously, being a kid from the 70s who sold tickets to the Warrior games, who hung out with Al Attles and all the great players going back to the 70s, I would love to have seen the team stay here. But that is, of our sports teams, if we had to lose one, I can live with losing the Warriors back to San Francisco.
Got it. I want to switch gears here for a second because I'll let the audience ask more questions around Oakland. But You are involved in, and we've talked at length about some of the companies that you have been, you've co-founded and you are currently involved with. Would you mind talking a little bit about some of those technologies and some of those companies?
Well, I'm a serial entrepreneur. So the one company I just mentioned just briefly that I'm excited about is we just received a couple patents on, and it's around energy, and the brand is 140 Energy, and it's around very efficient electric motor, and that's the extent that I want to talk about it right now.
Put you on the spot a little bit, my bad.
Yeah. I'm not. I'm actually building the model a little differently, and but it's around energy and a very efficient electric motor, 140 Energy.
Got it.
Socialization of energy.
Do this for me. Then you oftentimes are advisors to startups, and you talk to them. You speak at Stanford's campus. Historically, you speak at different annual meetings at some of the tech companies. Can you talk a little bit about some of the top, bigger picture ideas that you like to spew out to the entrepreneurs to get them motivated and get them going around tech?
Well, I've already seen the faces of the people here, so this is not. For lack of a better phrase, this is not beginner's class here. These are, I see a lot of seasoned people here in this crowd. So I'll just simply say that, again, depending on the company, and what's going on, I enjoy, joining advisory boards and bringing 30 years, 35 years of, being in business. At the end of the day, once you build it, it's about marketing, promotion, and practical application. And so because my network is extensive, I'm able to help them get to the right people faster in many cases, and seeing if there is a strategic alliance that makes sense.
Some people have said that you've kind of made the ultimate pivot in that you started as an entertainer, and then you took that career and you've and now you're a technologist, but you still perform a lot. You're still very much in demand. I've seen one of your shows recently, and I would argue that it is as energetic now as it was back in the day, if not more. So are there any parallels to your career as a musician and an entertainer in terms of maybe you being the stick-to-itiveness that you need as an entertainer does that translate into the entrepreneur world as well?
Well, you're seeing more and more entrepreneurs come from the music world, but that's natural. It's the same side of the brain. A founder of a company starts with an idea from nowhere. A musician starts when he writes a song with an idea from nowhere. If you're not a musician, you say, if somebody were to say to you, "Do you hear those lyrics over that melody?" You'll say, "What? I don't hear anything." When an entrepreneur comes up with an idea for a company, everybody else may hear nothing, but he or she sees their idea. And so that's why you see people like Ben Horowitz, who is, so deeply into the music world. I mean, because he feels a natural connection. You see Ron hanging out with musicians all the time. We have Ron Conway is hosting Snoop Dogg at May 28th, 29th in the city on a program. You see Mark Benioff with everybody from Neil Young to Janelle Monáe to Will.i.am. It goes on and on. So that's because those brains, there's a natural connection between a musician and an entrepreneur from idea to IPO. It's very similar. We have to come up with the music, and then we have to take it from grassroots to mainstream. And there are a lot of very similar marketing lanes that we all use. That's how Mark and I became friends. We used to walk up and down San Francisco when he first started Salesforce, and he would say he's going to market it this way, and I would say, "Mark, why don't you try it this way?" And he'd say, "I'm going to do it this way," and I'd say, "Here's another idea," and we throw these ideas back and forth on, how to market the company, because it's all marketing at the end of the day.
Got it. Question about a program that we're both involved with, and it effectively has to do with going to areas or places that you would think are not hotbeds of entrepreneurship or technology. And I'm speaking specifically about the last mile. And would you mind talking a little bit about that program and why, and if there's any relevance to what's going on here in Oakland?
Well, I think the relevance of the last mile. The last mile is a program that was founded by Chris Redlitz and his wife, Beverly, and Space at San Quentin prison. And the program teaches inmates how to create companies, again, from idea and all the way to demo day, to coming out of the program and being able to either start their own company and or become employees here in Silicon Valley, which the program has been very successful at. The parallels that I see is this. When we were talking about earlier what type of companies should come out of Oakland, just think about the different diverse companies that come out of that program for men who are incarcerated. If you could see all of the different areas that it covers, you'll know that there's no limitations on what kind of company could come out of Oakland. All kind of companies, just like all kind of companies come out of the last mile program.
Got it. I think I was just summoned to stop talking. I'm not sure, but am I to open it up for? Oh, I guess that's no more questions for you then. Sorry. But thank you very much, Hammer, and we appreciate.
Oh, questions?
Yeah. Sure. Okay, we'll take a few questions.
Gentleman, right.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Hi.
My name is Sherelle D. Lowry from ClassyBlackGirl.com, and this question is for MC Hammer as well as Eric Moore. What are you guys' thoughts on bridging the digital divide between like big tech companies and people of color, specifically children of color who are using their mobile devices all day long but can't code or even know what code is?
So it's a two-part question. So the first part, bridging the divide. There are a lot of active companies that are reaching out. I think I went to New York earlier this year, and I forget the name of the program, but it was actually sponsored by, I want to say, by Andreessen Horowitz, and it was all women of color, and it was a 2 or 3 day program around executives and teach and giving them the opportunity to be the point person for bringing tech into the community. And so anyway, I know of programs like that. There are more, but I think the responsibility falls on each individual company. Some companies, do actively. I don't know too many that in this day and age that don't, in some aspect, have an outreach program where they reach out and support organizations like Black Girls Code and other organizations like that. And so, that's my answer. I see people actively. I'm sure there could be more. I would give a different answer for a different question phrased a different way, but that's what I know of it. Well, how about you, Eric?
No, listen. I think this place I think should be replete with kids from the public schools here in Oakland, and because this is where you learn how to get into the business. This is where you learn about Mitch Capor is going to do a piece later tomorrow or today about how to start a company and how to get involved. How to get involved in technology. And if somebody were to come up to me today and talk about how to get my company funded, we're all here now, so I think we should be here. So to some degree, the burden that falls upon us to make sure we get the word out. So I think it is partially incumbent upon us to make sure people know about it.
Not to step on it, but let me give you an example. So Eric was the first African American VC that I knew who write checks and had a fund and has a fund, and I took it upon myself to make sure that anything that I see that he sees. That's just the way it goes. So part of it is the same principle. Again, it's not necessarily ethnicity. Ethnicity is opportunity, right? And when you see an opportunity to help, you just help. This is what we do as people. We help each other. So I'm hoping that others, from all walks of life, will give opportunities to everybody. And I think tech, what I've found in tech for the past 17 years, are more than enough people who have compassion for other people. I found that here in tech more than any business that I've been involved with.
Okay, I think we have. Oh,
I think
no.
he had one question,
You have a
Brian.
question or
One last question.
quick.
You talked about what would be a catalyst for more venture dollars flowing into Oakland. Right, this last year we had 100 million, as Bambi was saying, or less than 1% of what was raised in the whole valley. You being as networked as you are, you talk about a big company being the catalyst. I wonder, between the time a company grows up and that ecosystem develops, what are the ways that we could capture some more of the venture dollars, and what role can both of you play who are so well connected in the valley?
So my answer to that is relationships, right? At the end of the day, all of it is about relationships. And the people, I'll be over at a fundraiser in the city, and we may raise in one night for a given cause $3 or $4 million. Now I come over again, a 7-mile bridge, and do the exact type of fundraiser, and you may only raise $40,000. And the difference is in relationship. It's only in relationship. So the same group of people that are over there, they don't not like over here, but who is the person or persons that they have a relationship who's going to invite them over to their event and make them feel a part of the vibration of the city and or the charity that you're trying to raise money for. So in many respects, it comes down to relationship, and that's the lifeblood of the valley. Ultimately, it's the relationships.
All right, thank you very much. Appreciate it, Hammer.